All right, it's James back again. This is a tutorial on how to properly apply Brodarts. This is specifically the Justifold 3, but the concepts are pretty universal. Reason for the introduction is to make this long video a little bit longer, but also to explain why it's longer. I did 2 books in this. Actually, originally I did 3. I decided to cut the third one out because it was kind of redundant, but you'll see some wonderful new content creator editing going on. And that third book will just magically appear at the end. But the first one is really straightforward, and it's over and done in like 8 minutes, and it's just a cut and dry example of how to put one of these on properly. The other is an older dust jacket. I intentionally chose a pretty tough one where it had curling and tears and whatever else. Those take a little bit longer to do, so the video ends up being a little bit longer. But just wanted you guys to know this wasn't one of those recipes where you spend the first 6 paragraphs talking about where Mima came up with her brownie recipe. So there'll be timestamps that you can click through. You can get to the parts that you want. I'll link to all the equipment and everything that you need. And if you enjoy the video, like, comment, let me know, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Thanks, guys. All right. James Wood, back again. Appreciate the response to the Curious King First Law comparison. This is a video I've wanted to make for a while because when I first started putting on these Brodarts, I couldn't really find any good direction. I watched some stuff, but it honestly made me more confused and it was taking longer and it wasn't getting the results that I wanted. So I just decided to figure out how to do it on my own and have answered a couple of questions and stuff in Facebook groups and whatnot. So I figured I'd make a video showing how I do it. This is certainly not to say it's the only way, but I do think that the way I do it works pretty well. And once you get going, it's pretty quick. So we're going to do 3 different types of books. This one, pretty excited about this one. Collected Fiction of H.P. Lovecraft by Chiropto Press. Bought this through Subterranean Press. Of course, I had to go back and find Volume 1 so that I could have its buddy. But this dust jacket is just, paper, kind of flimsy, and really a great candidate for putting a Brodart on because this is something that could honestly pretty easily tear. And the sheen that the Brodart will put on it will help a lot with how it looks. A older book that's got some tears and stuff like that because you can use these to flatten this out, prevent further damage. It's got some curling here that you can eliminate, so that's good. And then a fine press book from Subterranean Press, which is going to have a little bit thicker jacket and be a little bit more difficult to work with. This is also a taller book. They're apparently not finishing this series, which is a little bit disappointing because it is very well done. But the supplies, and I will link to everything in the description, but you'll need a metal ruler, an X-Acto knife. I recommend getting the little gold-plated one that's a little bit sharper, a sewing mat, and the Brodart roll. You can get the 300 foot of the 10-inch height for I think it's $45. And then I buy the pre-cut sheets of the 12-inch that for taller books. But honestly, most books aren't that tall. There are a couple. These will honestly work for stuff up to like 11, 12, really, as long as you don't mind the paper showing. Oh, and most important, you need one of these, a bone folder. Works best if it's made from actual human femur, like this one. This isn't made from human femur. This is made from Teflon, which is a little bit more expensive than the cheap ones you can get. But I do recommend getting this one because it doesn't stick to the plastic. So let's go ahead and get to the nitty gritty. I will move this out of the way. And we'll do this one first. So take the dust jacket off the book. Set the book somewhere. Don't set it down anywhere dirty. Oh, wash your hands before you do this. Your hands have oils and all that stuff. You don't want to transfer that over. So is that necessary? Probably not, but I do it. Use your bone folder. Flatten the stuff out. This is going to be a little bit tighter than my normal situation because I've got the stand holding the phone up. So I won't be able to have as much room to move, but so do that, And then this has this little paper trail thing. Pull this out, use this, and kind of figure out. So you want to have it so that you've got like, you know, a 1/4 inch, 6-7 millimeters on the end here. I don't know if you guys can see all the way over here, but get it measured out flat. If you OCD, you can line it up with one of these lines here. Do this, get this here. Take your metal ruler, put it down here, and then whoop. All right, let me take that out of the way. Let me take this, flip it upside down. I guess if or it was upside down. So flip it right side up. You don't need to flatten or you don't need to do really anything here. Just get this kind of flat. And again, because this is just a paper jacket, this is going to be pretty easy. Slide this. I honestly should have practiced a couple of these before I started shooting the video, but just to get into the flow. Slide it in there. Make sure it's kind of centered, that you're not coming out either side. You've got a little bit of excess on each side. And kind of put your hands underneath here and just kind of push the jacket up towards the top until it feels pretty snug. Don't over push it, but just kind of get it up there. And then holding that, get your hand on top of this. Don't let it move. Flatten this out a little bit. Keep your hand there so this doesn't move. And then use and again, this is the Justafold 3. So this is the one I recommend. It's got the archival quality paper, the super clear. They do make a matte one. I haven't used any of those. I'm not a fan of that, but they do make a matte one, but I don't think they make an archival grade matte one. So you got that folded up. I always leave just a little bit showing here. Kind of double check, make sure I've still got that pushed all the way up. Keep my hand here. And you can use the lines on the sewing mat to see if you're roughly equal. I'm at an angle here, so I can't really hear, but I don't want to move my hand. Take this plastic, get it folded up, and just kind of get a basic crease here. And then I'm going to move this box out of the way a little bit here. So you want to pull it up so that there's not plastic kind of, otherwise you're going to have a plastic fold over there. But you don't want to apply too much. So that upward pressure is what keeps it up the top so that you don't have white paper showing. But you don't want to have too much upward pressure. Otherwise the jacket can kind of start, not warping, but it won't sit in the jacket quite right. That looks pretty good. All right, yeah, and then just kind of go over it a couple times. Get this really flat. That's why you need this bone folder. And then you flip it over. Oh, hell yeah. Did it right the first time. I was really hoping for that. So we're not seeing any white sticking out at the top, which is what you want. Everything looks really good. Like that was literally picture perfect. Once you have that, take it here. And I take the metal ruler and kind of just smooth it out. Get it just over the end of it. If you buy this exact ruler, you can kind of feel when you go over the jacket. And then keep it there. Hold it in place. And sometimes the Mylar is a little weird and you'll cut like everything except a little piece of Mylar and then you just run through it again. And boom. If you're braver than me, you could go a little bit closer than that, but I'm a perfectionist, but I'm not that much of one. I don't want to slice my dust jacket. So again, flatten it out here. Get it just past here. Boom. We got that. Then flip it over. If you want, you can apply some tape to this spot. It's not actually necessary. And yeah, sometimes you'll get dirt and stuff trapped in here, and if you just kind of blow it out, you can, but you're not really going to see that very much. So make sure it's nice and flat. You can put tape here and here if you want. Get your book back. Do really like this. That's cool. Put this here, and then I do this. Make sure it's lined up. And then fold the dust jacket over. Oops. Oh, no, not oops. We're good. Here. Take this. Fold it over. And boom. And look how pretty that looks, because they had that mat. It's nice and protected. Now it's going to be a little bit puffy. That's normal. What you need to do is you need to take it and you need to, this isn't going to work, but get a pile of heavy books, or if you have a book press, use that and just bump, and then let it sit like that for like 24 hours, or put it into a bookshelf where it's got pressure equally, but not, don't shove it in there. If you take a bunch of freshly applied ones and put them together, they will kind of tend to stick. But honestly, if you just do like this sort of thing, it just adds a little bit of imperfection to the Mylar, and that shouldn't be a problem. But again, if you want to lose that kind of puffiness, you have to put some weight on it or put it on a bookshelf. So that was actually a perfect example. You can stop watching now if you're satisfied with that. But if you want to see it again and see how I do it on a dust jacket that's not quite perfect, there are some tricks to that I can show you as well. Okay, so same thing. I bought this early on in my collecting extravaganza, and shame on me. I bought the Ace thinking that was the first edition, and it is not. It's the Gallants. I don't actually know how you're supposed to say that publisher. So I believe this was the American first edition, but it's not the true first. So bought this, it's a little bit rough shape. As you can see, we're going to do the same thing, flatten this stuff out, and you can use this bone folder, and you want to be careful, but you can kind of flatten, use different parts of this stuff and flatten this stuff out a little bit. You can get some of these creases and stuff pushed out. Be careful around here, because you'll end up taking off more of this jacket, but you see you can get this part was folded in. We can get that folded back out. Is there any more like that? No. So we can get that folded back out. Put that here. Get that out. This is definitely going to be a little bit of a tricksy one. Take this. If I did this on the left side, I wouldn't have to flip it over, but I practiced this all with it on the right, so can't change it now. So again, move it all the way over to the left, get this out here, get a 1/4 inch, 5 to 7 millimeters on the side. You could do less than that. I mean, technically you could size it perfectly and then you don't have to do the X-Acto knife, but it's a little bit easier if you're not trying to be a perfectionist right off the bat on that, and then just use the X-Acto knife on it. Also, if you don't care about having the extra on there, is this not straight? What's going on here? I'm losing my mind. Okay, we got this here. All right, well, this isn't quite straight, but that's fine. Do this. You can literally have, so like some people just take the pre-cut sheets and they don't X-Acto knife it or anything. So you'll just open it up and there'll be a whole bunch of white paper and plastic on the inside of the dust jacket. And if you're cool with that, then, that's fine. You'll save yourself some time. But if you like being a little bit more OCD like me. So this is going to be a little bit trickier. Oh, so yeah, you flip it and then top of the jacket goes up here. This is going to be a little bit trickier because we got these little folds and stuff here. This doesn't want to lay flat. I honestly, I might have picked one that's a little bit too difficult here, but we'll see. We'll get it figured out. All right, so we're going to move this up in there. I didn't have that quite center, so I move it to the left a little bit. That's pretty good. We're going to flatten this out. Okay, we're going to move. And again, it's not quite as easy as just moving it up like we did last time, because if you look at this, you've got that curling that's happening. So we'll move this up here. We'll get a rough idea of where we're going to take this. I'm going to fold it. We can maybe do one less than that. Well, we're going to do it like that. Okay. So I have no idea. If I was doing this on a glass table, I could crawl underneath it and look at it and see what it looks like without having to do this. But it looks, you can tell this side's down a little bit further, and that's probably because of that curl at the top of that. Do this. Keep your hand there. Hold this up. I do like one quick pass like that, and then start kind of pulling it up. And again, this little tension at the bottom is what holds the dust jacket in place so that you don't have white visible at the top. And if you don't do this, the bottom of the dust jacket will have that plastic kind of showing. And does that matter? No, but it definitely helps the aesthetic of the book once you put these things on. Because I get books that sometimes, they've got Mylar covers that someone else put on, and they're definitely flimsier quality than this, or they're just hastily applied. I will say I would love to see who should be putting out this video is whoever at Camelot Books puts those on, because I imagine they're crazy fast, and those are pretty much, every book I get from them, those are pretty much always perfectly applied. Okay, so we got that. Really just kind of, you can't really overdo it with this bone folder. That's what holds it in there. That's why I don't use tape, because if you use that bone folder correctly, you get everything nice and flat and it'll stay that way. Okay, so as you can see, this is a little bit of a mess. So if we put some pressure here, we can start to flatten out this. Yeah, see, this is, we'll see if I keep this or crop this out, because this might be embarrassing. You can take, so if you have like a little bit of white showing, this is too much, you can take this and kind of hold the back paper part with one hand and then cinch this up, and then that'll get rid of it. And then you take the bone folder and kind of whoop, and that'll do that. But when you've got this, that's a little bit too much. And the problem is that this silly jacket curling going on here. So when that happens, it's almost always on one side. For me, it's always on the left side. This is pretty pronounced. But you take it, flip it back over, and we're going to, I said left because I was flipping back over. It was on the right side there. So then we can push this back up just a little bit. Make sure that we've still got this up there, which it looks like we do. Put that pressure on it so that it doesn't move. And then you can see here we've got this extra bit of plastic, so you know you moved it up. And then you take your bone folder and get that locked into place. Earlier, I said that I recommend getting the more expensive Teflon one. I must confess, I just immediately bought the Teflon one. It's very possible that the $4 one works just as well. But this stuff can be kind of clingy, so I just went with the Teflon one because it literally just glides across this like nothing. So if you get a cheaper one and you find it sticking and it's not a very smooth experience, then it may be worth. You do want to make sure you're applying like some pressure on this stuff and kind of keeping it even, and don't try to do this too fast. Otherwise, you'll end up with this weird crinkle in the cover. All right, so that's better, but again, it's just this curl in the jacket it's screwing us up there because it won't lay flat. So if we do this, we're going to try this one more time. So you pull this back. I'm going to do this and just kind of, I'm going to put a good bit of upward pressure on that. Okay, keep your hand here so that shit doesn't move. Pull this up. Yeah, see, I kind of heard that little crinkle noise. That means that I'm not quite doing it perfectly on the Teflon or on the Mylar. Okay. Oh, hell yeah. There we go. So obviously there's going to be some white showing through. What I've been doing, I need to find a different tool. What I've been doing is if you get something in here that is not folded out the right way, I've legit been using a knife. You can kind of go in the side and fiddle with it to get it flattened out. Thankfully, we avoided that. You can see here, because of that extra upward pressure that I had to put on it, we're getting a little bit of this, and that's also because of the curl of the jacket. So that's what I was talking about earlier when I said you want to make sure you're not putting too much upward pressure, but kind of had to. And even with this, see, we lose it every time just because of that curl. So this is maybe where we can take this, we just kind of move it up a little bit. So you're applying light pressure on the paper below, and then just kind of move this here, and then flatten that out. And this one is, again, not going to be perfect just because I intentionally chose a very tough book to apply this correctly to. And see here, at least I don't know if you can see these little bumpity bumps, but that's what happens if you're not careful with that. But I'd say for this jacket and for the sake of brevity of this video, that's pretty dang good. Then we're going to do the same thing. And this will flatten a little bit again that curling and stuff will go away a little bit, or actually a good bit, if you put it in a box or put it on a bookshelf. Or on a book press, or with some heavy books on top of it. Again, just start from the center, go over, flatten that out. That just helps get out any of the extra Mylar or something that might be hanging on that you don't want there, that would prevent it from fully flattening. Yeah, see, I don't know why that didn't cut. I literally went over that. See, yeah, you can see here, there's a little bit here. I don't know why this happens sometimes, but it just does. It's kind of annoying. But, boom. And we're going to grab the book, put it back on where that spine is. And you can still kind of get the natural fold of where it's supposed to be. You have to feel for it a little bit sometimes. And again, see, we still didn't quite, this little bit of curling that was already on the dust jacket. If we get some consistent pressure on this though, that will go away. Obviously not a perfect example, and because of the missing things here, but it does make an older worn dust jacket. I think despite that, the white showing and whatnot here, I think it's still an improvement. And there's a little bit of white showing here, but again, this was just a tough one with that that curl at the top. So that's 2. So again, you can see here, this one's definitely nailed that one perfect. And yeah, again, it was probably not necessary to do another one, but I'll go ahead and show you guys real quick. There's the final result. All 3 of our, the older book, again, a little bit of white showing here, the thin one, and then the fine press thicker one. And again, you're going to want to take these and put, I recommend if you're going to stack multiple, I always do it like that, where you're alternating the spines just to keep that, and then get something heavy on there, and or put it on a bookshelf where it's got the equal pressure on there, because that's what will help flatten it out and get this air out of it. I'll link to the sewing mat, the ruler, the bone folder, and the X-Acto knife. These things are crazy sharp, and they have a tendency to, like, you have to lock them in with this. So just always check before you use it that this is locked in place. Put the safety cap back on. Oop, see, there I go, dropping a knife. But yeah, that's it. Hope this helps. If it does, drop a comment or like the video. Feel free to subscribe. I think I'm enjoying this YouTube stuff, so I think I'm going to keep doing it. So I'll try to come up with some more content. If you have stuff you want to see, let me know. I will see you all in the Facebook groups.